On this episode of the Innovative Schools podcast, we're sitting down with Brad Chapin to talk about self-regulation, how you can build skills in yourself for self-regulation, and how you can build skills in your students. Come on, let's learn together. Hey, educators, Jordan, the Innovative Schools podcast. Got Liz with us today.
Hey, everybody. How's everyone feeling?
I paused because I was waiting for the responses.
Honestly, yeah, I wanted people to actually respond. Didn't hear everybody.
I really hope that they did. If not, I'd just pause it and respond and then resume.
Keep it going.
No, thanks for joining us today on this episode of the Innovative Schools podcast. Liz and I just hanging out, talking different things. Our guest today, who we'll get to in a minute, we know him mostly through his self-regulation kind of program and practices and things, which I always find very interesting, helpful as a dad. Honestly, I'm really looking forward to this episode because I feel like right now, not to spill all the tea, but my daughter is having some big emotions right now. Not challenges makes it sound bad, but it's a challenge for me to help her.
Yeah.
In proper expression and getting through and like really getting to the heart of different things. But, that's from the parent side, but teachers run into this all the time too. You have kids coming in.
24/7.
They, 30 different kids, 30 different home lives, 30 different ways the morning went for each one, or, whatever. And so being able to like regulate and just kind of identify your feelings and talk about them in constructive ways, everything, things like that, and like be able to get yourself back to out of what I keep hearing as like lizard brain.
Lizard brain.
Like that part of your brain that like takes over, like, and you're not thinking clearly.
I just think of that like TikTok thing where it's like lizard, lizard, lizard.
I do not. I'm too old for TikTok.
No.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay.
That's okay.
Okay, never
Whatever.
mind.
We'll skip past that.
Okay, never mind.
But anyway, just self-regulation.
Okay.
I have found how much it helps in so many different areas of
Yeah.
life and things. But obviously here on this podcast, we talk about it in schools.
Yeah, seriously.
And that sort of thing. So I guess let's just introduce. You probably heard him because you made a couple sounds there while we were talking.
Honestly.
Chuckling. His name, it's Brad Chapin. Brad.
Yes.
Brad.
How are you, buddy?
Good to see you all. Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Finally invited to be on the podcast. Woo.
Yeah. So you holding stuff in there. I've known Brad for a many number of years. We started the podcast, and I think every time I see him, which is about at least 6 times a year, if not more, through the Innovative Schools summits, he always likes to just mosey on over
His cup of coffee
with his cup in his hand, and he says, "So when can I be on the podcast?" Very regulated.
Yeah.
He asks this question. He has not gotten angry or anything, but
I can't imagine.
we finally did it.
Yes, we're
him being
here.
angry.
My emotional support cup is still with me. Yes, coffee.
There we go.
We do make that joke when Brad presents. He always has a cup. It's typically a nondescript paper cup.
True.
I'm not sure if anything's ever actually in it or if he just holds it.
I've seen coffee in it before.
You also use it. I don't want to get into this. You also use it though.
I do.
You use it as an explanation for something. But now that I think about it, we'll get to that in a second. But let's start with you for just a second, Brad.
Yeah.
I know you. Liz knows you. Many of our listeners may not know you. You have some history in schools. You have a big history in mental health. Give us a real quick rundown about the Brad Chapin.
So, been in mental health. I'm a master's level psychologist, licensed clinical psychotherapist here in Northeast Kansas. So, been in mental health for over 25 years now. It's kind of wild to say, but so I started out in community mental health as a therapist, doing clinical sessions, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, crisis work on the weekends and evenings, and stayed in community mental health for 13 years, and then worked right alongside. We were actually one of the first mental health centers in Kansas to embed clinicians in the schools. So very familiar working with teachers and the challenges in education around behavior and kids and parents and their own struggles, and we can get into that too. But just as an adult and in challenging situations, how do they manage that? And then the last over 10 years now, I've been director of clinical services for a large healthcare systems behavioral health department. So I help oversee care and treatment for 52 inpatient psychiatric beds. We have 32 for adults and 20 for child and adolescents. And then full outpatient services. We have about 35 outpatient clinicians, med providers, and therapists. We cover about an 18-county geographical area, but we do lots of telehealth all over the state and even outside the state. These days, you can reach out quite a ways to do services. And then, of course, as you know, most of what I do is outside of that realm is try to do some preventative work, getting people some of these skills, hopefully upstream on how to manage challenge, so that the hope is that it doesn't, become a bigger problem later on. So that's just been a real passion of mine, and then trying to get that into a practical skill set that you can teach to a 5-year-old or a 15-year-old. So we have those 3 evidence-based curriculum guides out there for pre-K through high school. And then I tell you, the last 5 years, I've probably had more requests to do training and work with adult self-regulation. I think the pandemic really exposed some of the challenges and maybe weaknesses there. We ask adults to co-regulate and help kids do things, and if they don't have the skills, or if they were brought up in the same system, how are they going to do that co-regulation without knowing it themselves? So that's been a real joy. And education is one field I work a lot in, and then also healthcare. So teaching these skills now to new nurses, new providers, and then of course new teachers along the way too. So yep.
Yeah, I really appreciate how you kind of, in a way, have your foot in both lanes, both ponds of you're still kind of working with teachers, students, educators, but you're still in the mental health, like you're doing a lot on kind of both sides.
Yeah. Yeah.
To get both perspectives. You have a lot of study and training and things from the larger professional group of mental health, along with, the specific challenges and things that teachers and educators run into.
Yeah, I really enjoy staying in the applied setting. I know there's a lot of things that come out of research, academic, universities, but I've spent 25 years in an applied setting, so working, directly with those who are serving patients, or directly working with the patients or the kids, the students, or the staff. I just really enjoy that. I think that's really important too, to inform the work that you're doing, because it changes. The needs change, the trends change, the population changes. Kids now are not the same as we were growing up. So
I think I have 3 goals for this podcast that I'm coming up with right now.
What are they?
Okay. The first goal is to give tools and talk about self-regulation on the adult level, like for educators, administrators, whoever it is, that kind of that level. The second goal would be to give tools, strategies, and things for the adults to help students work through self-regulation. The third goal is to get Brad unregulated.
Oh, I'm so excited about goal number 3. Oh my gosh.
I think we can accomplish the first 2. The third one might be a stretch, but
I mean, if the world
off.
suddenly ran out of coffee, that might.
Yeah. I always expect Brad at some point to be like the Hulk and be like, he's like, that's my trick. I'm always dysregulated. No,
honestly,
and just Hulk out. But let's go back to those first 2 goals, because I think those are the ones that are actually probably more helpful.
Yeah.
To everybody.
Third one can be an experiment.
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe we can get there. Maybe we can't. We'll see what's happening. But okay, let's talk about a little bit of self-regulation on the adult level, like the teacher. Maybe some of this is obvious. Maybe it's not. I think self-regulation is really important.
Yeah.
But I guess the question is, why would it be important? Why does it matter on the adult level? Let's keep on the adult level.
Yeah, and I think, well, one of the things I can talk about why, but also I think it's important to talk about that they just, most of the time, and even when they go to conferences that I'm presenting at, all the material is about how more for them to do to help kids,
Hmm.
honestly. And so I'm not sure the focus has been there. On how are they supposed to manage, and same with healthcare. I see so many parallels between healthcare and education. So you've got nurses trying to take care of patients, you've got teachers with the whole attention is on how the student is doing. And these are two workforces that I don't know if these workforces are struggling, they're dwindling. We don't have enough of either one of these. Burnout is high in both categories, and these are also critical. What do we do without teachers or without nurses? So
Mm-hmm.
um,
Yeah.
trying to take care of our people is, I think, it's got to be on the table. It's got to be more of a focus. And we started out, when we started doing these adult trainings, is to come to people, and it's really important to start here, I think, is to acknowledge what they're trying to carry, what everybody has in their backpack. And I talk a lot about boundaries. All mental health people talk about boundaries, but the fact, do you think that your personal stuff impacts your professional life? And do you think that your professional stuff impacts, we all try to say, leave your work at work, leave your home at home. That maybe a robot can do that.
It doesn't happen. Yeah,
Every
maybe a
human,
robot. Or if you're on the show Severance, look it up later.
Oh, true. True.
every human I know, that impact cuts across those lines. And so
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
we've noticed is that everybody has challenge in their life, and it brings us all together, but people aren't equipped with how to carry that. And if you think of it as a backpack, there's lots of ways to carry a backpack. I mean, I see some people kicking it down the road. Some people are dragging it 10 miles
Yeah.
back.
That's
Some
me.
people have
You just
people
stand
hanging
outside of
onto
an
their
elementary
backpack.
school. Yeah.
Yeah.
Stand outside of an elementary school at dismissal, and you'll see every possible way a backpack can be moved from one place to another.
Yeah.
Some people have wheels and they're
Those
carrying it.
kids.
Some people have it on the front, some on the back. So I
Yeah.
like that analogy because there's a lot of ways to carry this stuff that we've got, this challenge
Mm.
in our pack. And the exciting thing is that research and science over the last couple hundred years have given us some really good clues about most effective ways to carry that. I sometimes think of it as, what did people do before the wheel versus after the wheel? I mean, that might be a little bit, I don't know, big of a
I love the
comparison,
wheel.
but honest, honestly, when you can show somebody, hey, it's the same stuff. We're not going to be able to make your backpack disappear. It's going to be the same stuff in there, but you can carry it differently. Makes a huge difference. Yeah.
Yeah, I think from conversations with you, kind of first knowing what's in your backpack
Yeah. That's part of
can
it.
kind of help a little bit.
Yeah.
And so this is a bit of a challenge, and hopefully just I'm hoping that what we're doing is we're kind of invoking some thought in our listeners right now of, if you imagine that backpack, and correct me if I'm going the wrong way, Brad, but I'm thinking of that backpack and what might be in it that you might be carrying. And it can be almost anything, right? It can be long-term stuff that you're carrying,
Oh yeah.
kind of
I mean, we that's the
bigger rocks. It can be stuff that,
first thing we start out is have the group talk about what are those challenges you're facing today. And people don't have any trouble listing challenges. We usually get 2 pages. I mean, from finances to relationships to other people to the demands of work to my own
Mhm.
fears about failure and
yeah,
expectations for myself, and my trauma, what I've been through, my experience as a human being on this planet, everything that you can think of. I mean, people will list on and that's what's in our pack, and that's there every day. And research tells us that
yeah,
that's going to impact your mood, your behavior, your performance, your sleep quality, your blood chemistry. I mean, all the things. So that's why I love this topic. Why not get right to the middle of something that impacts all those areas? How we manage challenge.
Mhm.
right. Yeah, and so there can be this stuff from years in your past
Yeah.
to maybe something that just happened this
Or
morning.
the future. Yeah.
You got an email, or right, a fear or something
Yeah.
of the future as
Yeah.
well. All in this pack. And so taking a minute to think about what is all in our pack,
Yeah.
and then I I hope I'm kind of taking this analogy the right way. I can imagine you have this pack and has all this extra weight, all these things that you're carrying, and when you're tired, you're a bit more irritable. So I can imagine to myself um, my mind, my soul is weighed by this pack, and then I have some kid who comes into the classroom who
Mhm.
has their own pack, their own things,
Yeah.
and they're tired, and it's a recipe for a challenging moment.
A mess is a better way of putting
Yeah.
it.
And the sad thing is
A
that people
mess.
fail. I mean, and if you don't know how to, if you're not carrying stuff well, if you're not carrying one thing well, if you don't have a good plan for how to manage what's in that pack, um, the big picture is that it contributes to failure across the board. And so then you sort of see
Mhm.
this snowball effect of, I don't know how to manage challenge well in my life, and I keep struggling and I keep failing. And then the worry for me in the mental health area is that that starts to chip away at hope for the future to do better.
Mm.
And so we know there's a link between happiness and hope and overcoming challenge, and hope being the biggest motivator to keep going and to keep trying and to keep when things get even more challenging. And of course, links to suicide and that whole other direction that can go too. But to me, hope, really, skills and understanding equal hope. And so that's kind of the bottom line for us with this.
Mhm.
Okay. Cool. So let's talk about those two things: skills and
Yeah.
understanding. So we have this pack, we have all this stuff, that we're carrying.
Yeah.
Where do you want to go first? Do you want to go with skills, or do you want to go with understanding?
So once we sort of acknowledge that, then we have this cool little intermediate task that we look at, which how much on that list of stuff in your pack can you actually control? So we have them kind of label controllable versus uncontrollable. And so that actually, points out a really interesting thing that probably over half the stuff in your pack is outside of your control.
You can't control
Yeah.
it.
So we have a question or a decision. What do we want to do with that? Well, we can accept and acknowledge that's out of our control. It's still going to influence us some, but then it's the other side where I do have some control over how things impact me, those things. And then the next logical question is, what do I do? How do I do that better or differently, or what's the most effective way to do that? And so that's where we've kind of outlined, that's where the skills come in. So every step of the way, we're kind of trying to increase understanding of this process. So acknowledging the challenge, deciding where we want to work, controllable versus uncontrollable, and then applying skills to that. Yeah. So that next little light bulb moment is, oh my gosh, this is a skill deficit when I'm not doing well, instead of something wrong with me or a character flaw in me. It's a skill deficit. Just
Right.
like if you weren't good at basketball, you're not going to expect to be better.
Which I'm not good at basketball.
You're not going to expect to be better
Liz
at
was holding that
basketball.
one in. She wanted to
I
say
really
it, but
did. I would have been like, he's not good at basketball.
So Jordan, if I told you,
I was
if I
blessed with
told
other
you
talents.
next week you're going to be better at basketball, and I'm just going to say, hang in there, keep your chin up. Could be worse. You could be worse. All the things that we normally do for someone who's struggling, all this vague advice that we
Yeah.
hand out, you're not going to be any better at that. And so that's the next step is moving into this. Okay, words aren't going to fix this. We need to do some skill practice.
Mhm.
yeah, we got to there's got to be some, I don't know a better way to say it, but movement. Maybe not physical movement, but there has to
Yeah.
be some type of response
Yeah.
in a healthy way to learn, to grow, to understand.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That kind of thing. So we move from kind of this, we know where this pack, we have this acknowledgement of what it is, this kind of understanding. There's things that we can and we cannot control.
Yeah.
I think that's a huge one, honestly. That I was talking about my daughter earlier. I think that's one of the big ones, trying to help her understand that there's things that she can control and things that she can't control,
Yeah.
and kind of where to go from here. But I think that honestly, I think that piece is in our conversation with you, or my conversation,
Mhm.
the conversations I've had with you over the years, is a big piece for me of just, oh yeah, there's nothing I can do about that. Oh, but there is something I can do
Yeah.
over here.
Yeah.
But then the next thing would be kind of skills.
Yeah.
right?
Yep. And we see people flash, that's a different conversation, and a teacher or a parent looking at a behavior as a lack of skills versus this is good, this is bad, this is a character issue, this is some problem. And these are some things we don't speak out loud, but it impacts our perception.
Sure.
And when you come to somebody who's not doing well at basketball or at reading, your approach is different, right? Oftentimes than it is with behaviors. And so I think that's kind of the next phase, is getting this idea of, oh my gosh, I can train skills around this, and you can get better, and we can formulate a plan, and you can practice. So we break it down. Then you got to have a skill training framework, and that's what we love to teach, right? So we have 3 skill training areas of self-regulation: physical, emotional, and cognitive. Just like you've got your skills for reading or skills for basketball, dribbling, passing, plays, defense, offense. So we break it up into these domains, and then it's just a matter of, how do you learn these skills best? We're still going to go in the same order with everybody. But there's different ways to teach this for a 5-year-old or a 10-year-old or a 35-year-old. And that's kind of the fun, creative part. How do you engage people in skill training and measurement? Yeah.
Sure. Cool. So going back to my first goal of helping the adult in the room, what can we get one kind of like skill activity? I'm not sure the quite right thing to say. If you had physical, let me see, physical,
Cognitive.
cognitive, and
Physical, emotional, cognitive. So if you think about 3 areas, when you have a challenge in your life, your body has an automatic response to that. You're hardwired physically to manage challenges in your backpack, right? It's going to do its thing. It's hardwired.
It's a natural. It's a right. Everyone has
Fight or flight
something,
system.
some way to
The
process.
fight or flight system is going to engage when it sees a challenge. It does its thing. So how do I manage that? What do I need to know about that? And then the emotional section, I'm going to have feelings about these things in my pack. So what do I do with, like you said earlier, big feelings? What do I do with emotion? How do I know how to navigate that, and where does it go? Where does this energy go? And then the third area is the cognitive. I'm going to have thoughts about all that stuff in my pack. How do these thoughts impact my behavior? So we really try to simplify this thing into those 3 areas. Yep.
Yeah. So what is kind of like, I guess, one thing, let's move into a little bit of like the practice of helping an educator.
Sure.
Maybe we'll work through a couple different hypotheticals here. One is just, a teacher who doesn't really have external, it's not like a kid or a coworker or someone. There's not like an interaction, but they can feel that they're on edge, or maybe a little bit more.
Yeah.
Maybe something personal kind of happened, but like getting themselves regulated into, or kind of working through, maybe before entering the classroom or even in the middle. But I'm just trying to set that basically there's not an external, what's the word? Poke? I don't know what word I'm looking for. An external,
irritant.
Sure. Yeah. There you go. Thank you, Liz. That works.
Yeah.
That's not even the right
that
term.
may provoke
Like an antecedent or a trigger or something like that.
Sure. Yeah. Trigger. That's what I'm trying to get to. All right. Anyway, said all that. What do you got, Brad?
Yeah. So I can actually step you through something. Let's say somebody's not doing what you want them to do. I don't know if this ever happens to you, but they're not doing what you want. So in our world, that's interpreted as a challenge. Would you agree? Might be a kid, might be a spouse, might be
100%.
Might be the checkout line.
Coworkers,
might be the
co-hosts.
person in front of you. This happens to me. Person in front of me at the stoplight that's not going. It's been green for 15 seconds and we're still not moving.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So that's a challenge.
Brad, are you a honker?
No,
do you honk?
I don't honk. So here's what.
He's too regulated.
He's too regulated.
So let's step through this real quick. Let's step through you can step through all 7 skills for any challenge. So let's real quickly. So your body's going to have a response to that. Somebody's not doing what you want. Your body interprets that as a threat. So its threat response is going to kick in. Your heart rate's going to go up. Your face is going to get hot. Your brain is going to change. The bottom part of your brain takes over versus the top part. So you're going to be more reactive.
The lizard brain. I told you
lizard
about
brain. You're going to be more reactive.
That's what that is.
Yeah, that's why you might honk. It's very reactive, that part of the brain. So you do and say these things that you wouldn't normally do if you were calm and collected. So that's our first step, is we we understand that initial response, our body's response to today's challenging situations, is not going to put us in good shape. That was great for a response to a dinosaur or a grizzly bear or another tribe coming to take your stuff. But for today's challenges, most of those need thoughtful, calm responses. They require a different part of your brain. So we need to get that shut down. We need to learn to calm that part of our response down. So that's steps 1 and 2. Recognize when that's kicking in, it's not working well, and then to be able to get calm and safe to turn that dial down a little bit. So you might do some box breathing. You might listen to your favorite song. Those are all those calm. You might bring your attention back to what's going on in the current environment. You might practice gratitude. You might do all these things to turn the threat dial down that we have. We have a whole toolbox for that. And then once I'm calm, I can move into the emotion regulation. So how am I feeling about this? Am I angry? Am I really scared? Is this really a big impact to me emotionally or not? So labeling that. And then how do I want to express that? Do I want to honk? Do I want to yell at them? Nah, probably not. Do I just want to go ahead and accept that emotion and move through? Do I want to journal it later? Do I want to share it with somebody? Oh my gosh, you wouldn't believe this person in front of me. They're not moving. The car's still not moving. Do I want to share it socially? So those are kind of our outlets, but you have control of that outlet. Every step of the way, you want to make sure you are in the driver's seat here. It's called self-regulation for that reason. And then the next component I might move into is, what are my thoughts about this situation? Is this going to keep upsetting me all day long? Am I going to keep going back to this? How's my, am I thinking like, oh, this happens to me every time. This is going to happen to me all day. My whole day is going to be terrible. Versus, hey, this was a 2-second thing. It's over with now. I've got a lot of the things I want to do. I really don't want to carry this garbage home with me. I don't really want to give that person that much control over my life for the next 24 hours. That's how the thought process is going to impact this whole situation. So right there, we moved through physical, emotional, and cognitive in a minute and a half or 2. I mean, but without practice, that sounds real easy here. And just like I could tell you how to go out and play basketball really well, without practicing and developing those muscles at each one of those stages, your likelihood for success, not great without practice. So.
Yeah, it's really easy to just say, oh, I'm going to, in those moments, I'm going to take my box breathing. I'm going to ask my questions of, do I want to let this bother me? What am I feeling? Why am I feeling it? Or all that stuff. But when you have that 5th grader in your face, telling you, telling you words that your mom didn't teach you, but your classmates did, it's hard to. You can't necessarily just stop and be like, hold on, I need to do my breathing real quick so that I stay regulated and I don't go off on you.
That's one of the best skills to stop. Yeah, you can stop. You can stop. And you would want to do that because 2 lizards trying to solve a problem like that is going to go nowhere. So if you notice you're getting dysregulated, you definitely need to stop. Yeah, you're right, though. There's a challenge. I mean, you've got to, and that's where the understanding comes in. Our bodies are hardwired to do its thing. So you are fighting against biology to want to do its thing. It wants to eliminate the threat or get away from it. That's simple biology of what fight or flight is. And so we're trying to go a different route. We're wanting you to stay engaged with the threat, but in a calm way. So that takes practice, right? That takes practice to do.
Yeah. And
So think about this, Jordan. So I've been practicing mindfulness, meditation, calming for years and years and years. So I know what that feels like. So I listen to the same music, 15 minutes every couple of days, and I do this mindful meditation. What do you think my body does when it first hears the note of that same song I've been listening to for 8 years? It goes right to that spot. You could hook me up to a pulse monitor. So what do you think if I'm in the checkout line and I notice that I'm starting to my body knows exactly how to get to that spot, and I can get there a lot quicker versus someone who has not practiced that in the moment. That's 2 different, right? Skill levels.
Yeah.
I think we have high expectations with very little skill training, and that does not set up well.
That's a good word. having those high expectations with low skill
Yeah. I see it all the time.
levels.
It's a mismatch, it's not, doesn't seem fair that I expect you to
Yeah.
play a high level of basketball with no practice.
Yeah.
He tries. Trust
Right.
me.
I do try sometimes,
Or
but
practicing the
no,
wrong
I
things, or not practicing well. I see that a lot too.
right. Well, I think, this gets me thinking about like almost this feeling of like everything is practice. And so what
Mhm.
are you
It
practicing?
is. Yeah. And how many times have you
Ooh.
done
In
it?
the same
Yeah.
way of like teaching your
Wait a
body,
minute.
like you were saying, Brad, like you're in those moments and you know how to get to that calm. If you always elevate
Yeah.
in those situations, that's the only move your brain is going to know
Yeah.
what to
And if
do.
you've been doing
Yeah.
that for
When I'm
25,
threatened by
30
this,
years,
I'm popping up there, and I think there's just sometimes there's a lack of intentionality. Uh,
Mhm.
you're just not. I hope no one's out there saying I'm just going to practice getting really angry at any situation.
I would hope
But,
not.
it happens over time. I think, you're always practicing something. And so the encouragement is to put intentionality behind that practicing and um, find your way to get into that calm so you can think through
Mhm.
what's going on, what you can control, and what steps you need to take next
that's the perfect word in
for
being intentional,
that.
because we know what happens if you let the default play out. The the body's going to do
Yeah.
its thing. It's
Yeah.
going to do its thing, what it's been doing for a long time. So
That's that can get scary.
Yeah. So, I love that we've kind of walked through these different things, especially from the adult side. Um, Before we go into the break, though, I'm going to ask a question.
Mhm.
Do we feel that we've kind of met that first goal of kind of approaching the adult side of self-regulation and giving some things to kind of the adult in the room, whether that's the teacher or an administrator or whatever. Liz, do you feel like we've accomplished that first goal?
I think we did. Honestly, I think it's really inspiring to know that something that can feel so out of control, like emotions or feeling like I'm all over the place or dysregulated, understanding it's a muscle of skills that you can learn to, even when you do have stuff in your backpack that a lot of us do that we don't want in our backpack,
sure.
and we're having to learn to deal with that. I think it's so empowering
Yeah.
that you choose how you're going to show up in a space, even though it's just a mess. But I just think I think it's inspiring. And so you can take hold of that control in something that can feel so dysregulated. You can change the narrative.
Yeah.
So I do think we've given them, it's something that they're going to have to practice.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we accomplished our goal.
Sure.
What do you think, Brad?
Well, I eat, breathe, and sleep this stuff, so I'm just here as a resource for y'all. So yeah, I could talk 7
Honestly,
more
thank
hours
you.
on it if you want to, but yeah, you tell me
Okay, cool.
me what's not clear, and I'll try to fill in the gaps. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think, Jordan?
No, I think we did. I think we sprinkled a couple, specific things. Box breathing was one thing that comes to
Mhm.
mind. If you don't, Google it if you don't know what it is.
Is it the 4-4-4 breathing? Is that what that is?
Yeah,
Brad?
you can do 4-4-4. You can do 2-4-2. You can do all kinds of different things. You have control over
Okay, there
what
we
you want to
go.
do. You can do the 5-6-7-8 kind of dance breathing. I've seen people do that. People bring a
Okay.
lot to these trainings about different ways to breathe. The point is, like Jordan said, being intentional about that, because what we know is breath
Mhm.
holding and shallow breathing are what our body's going to do if it feels threatened, and that's not going to lead us in the right
Mhm.
direction. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think through that and the encouragement of being intentional and practicing, and even just the awareness of knowing that we all have some type of backpack and we
Mhm.
all carry it in different ways and there's different things in it. Just that reminder, whether that's, the teacher to teacher adult kind of relationship. Oh,
Mhm.
that person that I'm having this kind of issue with that's going to get me frustrated. they also have a backpack. They also are carrying it, and I don't necessarily know what's in there, but I know how sometimes my backpack can be a burden. So,
Yeah.
giving a little grace.
Helps you be empathetic.
Do you think?
Yeah, and that
Do
kind
you
of thing.
think
So,
just normalizing it too is important? Does like everything we talked about here is normal human behavior in the face of challenge? Like
Mm.
yeah, I mean, I do. I really do think that normalizing is an important part of all this. And just that our responses to stressful situations, like we are built to have we are built to have some type of response.
yeah.
And so that's a normal, natural thing, to have some type of response, fight,
Yeah.
flight, or
Yeah.
whatever kind of
Mhm.
thing. But getting those in a healthy way, I think, is the challenge.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing. All right, cool. I think we have accomplished that first goal.
I think we did.
So we're going to take a short break. And when we come back, we'll work on our second goal of trying to help the little ones in our school, or big ones if you're in high school, either way. Just, the students, those are the
Let's
important
help
ones.
these
So,
kiddos, man.
listeners, hang out for a minute, and we'll see you after the break.
Learn from the best in education on Accurate.com. Accurate.com is our subscription-based service that we offer for educators just like you. We have over 40 masterclass-style courses that give you more than 80 hours of training. These courses cover a multitude of subjects like leadership in your school, to climate and culture, to even just classroom management, and so much more. And this training is from the real experts like Bruda Kefele, Michelle Borba, John Almarode, and even Michael Bonner. We release a new course every month, and you'll be able to start applying these strategies as soon as your next day in the classroom. Go to Accurate.com to get started. If you use promo code PODCAST at checkout, you get 10% off your first 6 months. Visit Accurate.com and start learning from the pros today.
Hey, Innovative Schools podcast listeners, this is Jordan. I wanted to tell you guys about the Innovative Schools Summit. It's something we're very closely related to, as you can tell by the name. It's how we get access to all these experts to be able to record these podcasts and things. But what the summit is, it's about a week long where we get a whole bunch of experts in the field of education together in one place to teach you guys, to teach you all types of things, to teach you things like innovative teaching strategies or discipline, classroom management, and then even into things like how to handle bullying and things like that. It's just a wonderful time to come together with a couple thousand other educators and these experts and learn from them. There's all types of people that we have present at these, many of whom have been on this podcast. People like Michael Bonner, Steve Spangler, Gary Brooks. The list goes on. Pretty much everyone on the podcast has been at a summit at some point in time. So if you like this content that's on the podcast, you will love what happens at the summit, being able to learn directly from them. We have about 5 a year all over the country in 2026. We have New York, Orlando, Las Vegas, Nashville, and San Antonio. And it's sprinkled throughout the year, so hopefully there's one that has dates that fit with you. For details for that, check out the link in the show notes or the description, and we hope to see you there. If you are there, try and find us. We'd love to say hi and talk to you and get your ideas for the podcast. So hopefully, we'll see you there. Welcome back, everybody. Innovative Schools Podcast. Jordan, Liz, Brad, our self-regulation expert.
With his cup of coffee.
With his coffee, which he's thankful for the break because he just got to warm it up a little bit. So he's ready to go.
Regulate.
And regulate. He had to regulate the temperature of the coffee.
Exactly.
Yes, he did.
We just mostly finished talking about, we've been talking about self-regulation this whole time. We were kind of in the realm of the adult in the classroom, whether that is the educator or an administrator, just kind of like the adult, the things that as grown-ups, how we can work on our skills of self-regulation and things like that. And then we wanted to move into how the adults can kind of help the students, and we'll get there. But during the break, Brad mentioned something to us that we wanted to go back to when it came to the adults, which was, in a way, kind of taking your basketball analogy a step further of you have like individual things that you're working on, but you have team practice for basketball. And so practicing some of these skills in a team setting.
Right. And since it's such a human thing, and we've had some really good success, and I think these have been really rewarding to do in a group. So maybe you have one skill of the week, and you kind of step through this over 7 weeks. That's how we've been doing it. That's how we do it in our college course too. But people are coming together around, what are my warning signs? What do they look like for me? But also, what can I learn from you? And then how do I practice safe and calm? Maybe you do some box breathing, but I don't really like that. I'd rather just be able to give myself some space, some time to take a walk, or I just need to get out of the situation for a minute, get myself cool and calm, talk to somebody. So what we found is there's so much individual differences in the way that, there's commonalities, but people learn from each other in a really supportive way. So it also provides a lot of understanding. Say you work in the same building with, 20, 30, 40, 100 other people. Oh, that's why so-and-so does that, or that's why so-and-so, to have some of that collaborative understanding. And like I think you said, Liz, some grace or some empathy for other people. It's comes up in these group sessions. So whether you get together on Zoom, you read a chapter, is 5 minutes or less to read about it, get that understanding, and then come together around supporting each other on a skill set. I just wanted to share that. This has been pretty rewarding to see teams do that. And from a leadership perspective, it shows a lot of emotional intelligence to put some time and energy into helping support your staff in that way, rather than more vague advice. Hey, we've only got a month left of school. Hang in there. Keep your chin up. Okay. We say that every year. We say that every 2 months. Oh, it's almost Christmas vacation. Oh, it's almost spring break. Oh, those are, like I said, just words. And basketball teams don't get bad. People don't become better readers by just saying, hey, keep your chin up. Hang in there.
You'll get them next time, champ.
Seeing this as a skill set is critical.
Yeah, for sure. And I was going back and forth about if I wanted to slightly plug this now or later, and maybe both, but just you do have a book, Self-Regulation Skill Set for Educators.
Yep, for the adults.
That kind of walks through, it's a plan kind of thing of making that, working on those skills.
Yeah, and we made it. I tried to write it super simple. Like I said, you can read a chapter in less than 5 minutes. And made the homework super simple. We put QR codes to just short video clips, kind of teeing up the next skill, and tried to make it as easy as possible. Because, if someone's backpack is already full, I don't know if you've ever felt this way, but then you read a list of I'm not feeling well, I'm trying to get motivated to do stuff. And then the list of to-dos is 25, the meme says I got to do this, 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 and this to feel better. I can't, I don't have the energy to carry what I got going. So it's got to be manageable or people just won't do it. So, but then we've been seeing, the feedback and the data from that, being able to reduce our pre and post outcomes from that are 25 to 40% reduction in perceived stress. That's how much control you feel like you have over what's in your backpack. I honestly, I don't know a lot of medications. Medications can do that, but without the side effects. And this is something people are doing for themselves. So just that feedback loop and that self-esteem loop of what I've been able to accomplish here just in 6 weeks is so fun. I probably got a little dysregulated there. I don't know if that was your goal, but that was probably. I get a little,
Number 3.
You were getting pretty excited
I get a little
there.
animated when we talk about the success stuff. That's just so rewarding.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's
all right. I'm gonna that's probably the closest we've gotten to 3, but I'm not gonna mark it done yet. We'll see if we
partial
get to
check.
I moved around in my chair quite a bit. I changed position.
Yeah.
I think I
Settle
saw you
down, Brad.
smile.
Settle down.
I saw some
Gosh.
teeth in here. I don't know. Yeah.
Okay, so let's go ahead and make the jump into working on our second goal of the that self-regulation for students. Now, I feel like, and help me learn, because that's what we're here for. Come on, let's learn together.
Sure.
Self-regulation, as the name implies, deals a lot with the self. So there's only probably so much that a teacher or an educator can do. There's a lot of the weight that needs to be lifted by the student, but I feel like there's got to be something outside of just obviously if a teacher can regulate themselves, it can make any situation kind of better. If the adult in the room can be able to do that, but just launching into this student side of things, I feel like there's got to be at least some little things that educators can do to be helping their students build these skills.
Yeah, and I think especially initially, because we come to this skill training with this idea that people are starting at kind of ground zero. Like we don't have a lot of expertise in this. So if you think about, again, sports analogy or any skills, setting up the playing field, setting up the practice, planning things, dosing it, I think is important sometimes. So think if you're walking into a completely dysregulated group of people, you're not going to be pulling out the most difficult thing to read first, right? I mean, if you used reading as an example, right?
You're not going for War and Peace.
Yeah, so you're not going to be playing the NBA.
Some people may even think green eggs and ham is a bit of a stretch.
Right. Not going to sign up for the NBA Finals, game. So, so I think being thoughtful about where you're starting from. We start by teaching reading by saying this is what A looks like, this is what B looks like. So part of this is setting your expectations around, and not everybody is starting at the same place. We have some people that honestly have had, and I think it's probably the minority, have had decent examples of how to regulate from somebody in their life in certain areas. But very rarely have I met an individual that has these skills kind of down from the get-go without, like you said earlier, intentional practice. If you have been fortunate enough to develop these on your own through a lifetime, man, feel very lucky that you've had that. But 5, 6, 7, 14-year-olds, most of the people I come into contact have. So setting those expectations up early can help you and can also help the students that we are starting at ground zero. But visual cues, like we try to come up with as many ways as we can to engage. We did measure this when we started developing our evidence base for the kiddo curricula, is teacher engagement in the lesson. So if it's like, oh, this is self-regulation training time, the level of enthusiasm and engagement in the teaching of the self-regulation lesson was a moderating variable in our outcomes. So those more engaged in the lesson, those using real life examples of how to apply this in the classroom, those who used challenging situations that they come into contact in the classroom with every day. So you have all these opportunities to practice as a group with challenge in your environment in real time. So there's just the teachers that did that got better outcomes from the lessons. So, yeah.
Let's go back a little bit. You said, the teaching, let's stick in the reading. We've hit basketball a couple times. Let's go with reading just a little bit of, teaching someone to read, like even when you're at that very beginning stages of a kid who's starting to, some may be able to recognize letters, some may know the sounds they make, some may have none of that. I don't know. My kind of two questions is just like, how does an educator start to identify where the different kids are? And two, what are some of those kind of first steps, the letter recognition, so to speak, steps of self-regulation?
So we start with
for a teacher to be working.
Yeah, we start with that skill one. We go, like I said, we go in the same order, whether you're 5 or 15 or 55. So we're going to start with that body response. So, for a 5-year-old, it might be drawing a chalk outline during, outside on the sidewalk, or a butcher paper, draw your body outline, and then mark on there. Where do you feel it when you start to get upset? When somebody's doing something that you don't like, or somebody took a toy from you. There's plenty of examples of things that we don't like or things to get upset about. And then what we've found is that 4-year-olds can tell us this stuff. Some 3-year-olds can start to mark on these where they feel it. And that's really encouraging. Can you imagine if everybody at that age started to kind of learn this up front about
Oh my
how
gosh,
they
I feel
feel
like
and be
I
able to
could.
recognize it early and tell someone?
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah, I don't like the green beans, Dad. I would like to eat something else. Thank you. That would be so much better than.
Why are you screaming?
Yeah. Wait. Whoa. What's the problem?
What's
But yeah,
wrong?
no.
yeah, we do a really good job with like physical illness. They tell us when our tummy hurts, but this is a skill that if you're not intentional around it, you don't notice that muscle tension, but your shoulders are up to your ears. And nobody really tells you about what to do with that. Or, some of the trainings I've done for school nurses say 75% of the kids that come to their office aren't there for a physical problem. It's
Mhm.
this
Wow.
stress, this upset stomach, these headaches, this anxiety building up without any, and we use the word anxiety, but a lot of it is this fight or flight system doing its thing. And if they don't have understanding about what that is, it can feel real bad. And it has secondary effects of something's wrong with me. But can you imagine if you had that knowledge about this is normal, this is my body doing its thing with all the stress in my life,
Yeah.
and there's ways to handle it, and we're all doing it as a group because school's hard, because relationships are hard. I don't always get what I want, so what do I do with that? And you're showing them what happens and what to do with that in a normal way,
Right.
right? It's a complete game changer. So
Yeah. So you're starting with that physical side
yeah,
of an activity or something that you can kind of do is like, hey, here's an outline of a body or something. You could probably even go online and print out
yeah,
some
Mhm.
outline or something, or have them draw it.
yeah,
And
yeah,
hey, when you start to get angry, what do you start to feel?
yeah,
So
in your body. So
just on
yeah,
this,
yeah. So staying with the
yeah, I was just
body,
gonna say,
yeah, first. Mhm.
yeah, Liz, what? I'm gonna put you on the spot here.
That's
What
fine.
is you got your body outline? What are you marking as your like initial indicators of deregulation?
Um, when I'm getting a little, I don't even know if I'm allowed to say this word because I don't want it to sound bad, but usually you've heard me say this. When I'm tweaking out,
Okay,
when I'm tweaking out, I don't know if is that should I say that, Brad? Am I
No,
allowed to
and
say
that's
that?
just
actually
roll
where
with
we
it at this
start.
point.
That's where we start with a lot of vagueness, but I would really want to
Uh-huh.
drill into that with you of
Uh-huh.
where is it, and what does that word mean to you specifically? Does
Yeah.
that, yeah. So,
Just when my anxiety is getting a little out of control or when I'm tweaking out. I would say I feel it a lot in my face.
Mm,
Like my jaw will get a little tight
yeah,
or, you can tell your cheeks are getting kind of
yeah,
hot
yeah,
so yeah, I usually feel it in this
yeah.
region, in
interesting.
my face
That's typical.
or head, I should say.
That's what we want you to do
Yeah.
is get very specific, right? Because if you're so vague, it doesn't give you much information about what to do. And it also doesn't help other people help you co-regulate. So that then becomes
Very
part
true.
of your
Yeah.
plan. So when we're going through skill training, we're also building your personal plan. This is
Mm-hmm.
what dysregulation looks and feels like for Brad. And so if I'm your teacher
Yeah,
and
so personal.
I have this plan that we're building all along the way, because the next step is what equals safe and calm for you or for Brad or for Liz. So then I have kind of a recipe to help you regulate. And you also have this recipe about what your skill training looks like. And so then it just becomes a thing of, well, last week or yesterday, that didn't seem to work well, what we had on the plan for helping you get calm. Let's revisit that skill. Let's get our heads together and try a couple of other things here because that one didn't work well.
Ever evolving.
Yeah. Well, and
Okay.
I wanted to pick on you for a minute just because I know like one of mine is my hands start to kind of shake a little bit.
Oh, my handshake too.
And what's really interesting, at least for me, this is the way that I start to acknowledge it, is my hands get shaking, but there's a moment before everything takes over that I can acknowledge, hey, my hands are shaking. Everything else is about to
Yeah.
come. But
Good.
but it's different. I wanted to point that out that yours is different, mine's
Mhm.
different, whatever. If Brad ever gets deregulated, still waiting for that.
Yeah,
You know,
seriously. I'm so intrigued.
you know, his things are different. And so when it comes to the kids, you have 30 kids in that classroom or adults or whoever.
Mhm.
But in our case, the students, they all have different physical indications. And that's
Sure.
what I think makes this better. But you may also find someone else in the classroom who has a similar kind of physical expression,
Yeah.
and you can go, oh, that is a normal thing for me to feel a
Yeah.
certain way, or whatever.
But then also when I recognize that, that's a sign that if without that recognition, I can't even cue for help. I can't even ask for help because I don't know what's going on. So it does so many things, that first step, that awareness. First step in self-regulation is self-awareness. How can I regulate something if I don't even know it's happening? So yeah. And I often remind people that a lot of this, maybe I could tell you right now, I'm totally dysregulated. A lot of us have learned to hide it really well. Right. So just because
Yeah.
someone looks regulated on the outside, does that tell us that they're
Sure.
completely? No. We know people can be complete wrecks on the inside and look pretty
Yeah.
together. The other thing I'll say for adults, and this is really interesting, that some of us have learned that our fight can be really, really nasty over the years, that we can like cut people up in a second. We can do some real damage. And so one of our first responses can be to withdraw, to just
Mhm.
shut down or pull away. And so, but knowing that, I mean, you see this in meetings, people, when talking about something somebody doesn't like or whatever, people will shut down or push away from the table. You see all kinds of things. These are the kind of warning signs, or we call them warning signs, but that self-awareness in the initial response. So that's step one, is recognition that fight or flight. How is that manifesting in me? What's it look like? Getting it down on paper. And then step two is that skill of how do I dial it back? Once I recognize this is happening, it's not going to help me out. How can we create safety? And so that can be anywhere from all that stuff. I mean, we have 3, 4, 5 pages of these things that can help humans feel safe. But we've talked before about predictability is one of the biggest ones. So if you have a plan, if you know the schedule, counting, any of these things that are predictable, patterned, rhythmic, repetitive, going for a walk, or music, distraction. So there's these elements that we can implement when we start to feel that way.
And so things like that are things that you can both kind of build into students on an individual level.
Yeah.
But an educator could kind of take breaks to help kind of regulate a whole class. We're allowed.
Yeah. Maybe we do it together. Yeah. Yeah. Or first thing in the morning.
Whatever.
Yeah. When things are dysregulated or they come back from a really dysregulated time, like lunch or something like that.
Almost like just an interesting use of dysregulated there, because you're kind of referring to just like recess or lunch, where it's just
Chaos.
you're in a way good chaos, like you're playing, you're running around, you're being crazy, but then to come into a more regulated space of, hey, we have some classwork, some time or whatever.
Yeah. I don't want lizards trying to do math, right? So try to engage that.
Yeah.
Really setting the field up for success there in some ways, but teaching them how to do it too. This is why we're doing that. So it's not that I'm going to make your environment perfect for you to operate in, because that's not real life either. And I'm not going to make sure that,
Right.
We see a lot of people trying to work on, we're not going to have any triggers for you. We're just going to try to remove all these things that are upsetting to you. That's not the way to go either, because that's so not real life. But we see a lot of people trying to manipulate the environment so that kids can be successful. And, you've got to use your brain about that a little bit. I mean, if there's a real triggering event because of someone's trauma that is unlikely to happen in real life, and you can do something about them avoiding that. But what we don't want to do is create a whole bunch of people just trying to avoid their triggers throughout life. Because we see that happening a lot right now. I see that as a big contributor to why my referrals at the mental health center are up 40%, because that's the skill that people have learned, is to become avoidant of these challenges.
Do you actually classify that as a skill? You use the word there, but I'm just curious.
I mean, there's healthy and unhealthy skills, and that's what I tell people. People are going to regulate. You cannot get away from self-regulation. It's healthy or unhealthy, helpful or unhelpful, effective or ineffective. People will regulate, whether it's substance abuse to manage my emotions, avoidance to manage my emotions. So whether we teach the healthy or just let people's default develop what's probably less healthy, that's the choice I think that we have.
Yeah.
Yeah. You get over there, Liz?
No, I just think it's so important that we're teaching these children how to really get self-regulated in a really healthy way. I was just thinking about me at the dining room table as a kid trying to do my math homework. And sweet mom, you know my mom, sweetest thing. As wonderful as she is, she's like, you need to sit down and you need to do your homework. You're not moving until, and I'm getting all worked up because I can't figure out this math problem. And I'm just thinking how beneficial it would have been. Even my mom is perfect. She's an angel, but just how beneficial it would have been just for her to help me, learn those skills early on to be able to, even as simple as I'm having trouble with my multiplication table. Or division but it's just crazy. They're going to self-regulate one way or another. So we got to teach the healthy way.
I love that you said that. That's a perfect example. So the work is hard enough, the challenge, but then you add to it, like I'm slipping down into lizard brain that can't do math, period. So how am I now compounding the original challenge with all this other stuff that could be helped or alleviated a little bit to some degree to put you in the best space for success? And that's why I told you, with the lack of the skills is so correlated with failure and then that trip down the path to hopelessness is not that far away. So,
Wow.
I'm thankful, Liz, that you kind of took it that way, because I think it's easy for us to think just in general terms that we need self-regulation, but to bring it down to a real situation that a student may be in the middle of, and maybe it's not at the dining room table, but it's at the desk,
sure,
or it's at the lab table or in the cafeteria, that these kids end up walking down this path of kind of hopelessness, of not having that skill, and then going to Lizard, and then they just start convincing themselves that there's so many things that they're not good at, they shouldn't try or anything like that. And to pull out from that and to build that skill, it's challenging. I mean, it's difficult, and they have to do the work, but we as the adults, we can do our best to try and help. So to
make it fun too and engaging. And that's a perfect example, is because that happens all the time. I mean, people are challenged every day, and then our instinct is to just push harder, and you think like, oh my gosh, that's really that doesn't fit at all with what we know is going to be helpful. So, and to not blame others. I really love how you put that. My mom is, she's the best, all this stuff, but
she really is.
And we end up doing what our parents or our grandparents or Facebook says, but and they're to just acknowledge that they're doing the best they can with what they know, and they really are. And to also acknowledge that they didn't have this information either. Most of them are doing the best that they can with what they had. And so I think that's important. This isn't about blaming anyone or putting guilt on what we used to do. It's about taking what we know now and applying it in the most effective way.
All right. Did we hit goal number 2?
I think we hit goal number 2.
I think we did, Brad. Is there anything we have missed in goal number 2?
Sounds good. I mean, we covered 2 skills out of 7. That's pretty good. So
2 out of 7. There's a lot of skills. We'll just have to have you back for another one, and we'll, work it through, because I'm not sure that we made goal number 3.
I don't think we did.
So
I don't know.
I'm kind of sad.
I wish I had some back pocket trigger.
I'm pretty excited.
Nothing real big, but just some sports team, something or another. But I got, just to get at it.
I'm excited for your
get
viewers.
You animated.
I'm excited about your viewers. I'm excited. I really liked the way that Liz brought this out and the way that you talked about it too. And I am excited. There's a lot of hope in this. And so that, I don't know if I'm dysregulated, but I'm upregulated for sure. So.
You're upright. Fair enough. I guess we'll take it if that's what we can get. But Brad, I thank you so much for joining us on this episode and just giving skills both personally and things that we can be doing for the kiddos in our lives. Liz, thanks for joining us here as well and bringing some
happy to be here.
Additional insights.
Are you kidding? I'm always not regulated, so honestly, this was very helpful.
You're the
for me as well.
of self-regulation here.
Thank you.
But, yeah, to all of our viewers, thank you for joining us on this episode as well. I hope that you can take some of these things that we talked about today and start incorporating them into your life, and also your personal life and your professional, your education life with your
Mhm.
students. I think it's really easy for all of us to just see how self-regulation, being able to identify our emotions and see when we're starting to become dysregulated, can help in so many different areas and aspects of our lives. So I hope you learned something here. And if you did, as I always ask, I ask that you like, subscribe, and share the podcast so that others can learn more. As I always say, we do this podcast to help educators, and we can only do that if more people are able to hear it, and that happens through shares and all those other different things. So we thank you for joining us. One more time, thank you, Brad,
Thank you.
for being with us.
Thank you. It's
Thanks.
great.
Really appreciate it. And Liz, we'll see everybody.
Worth the wait. Worth the wait. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like,
Worth-
I'm not going to let you live this down.
Worth the wait. 100% best review. I expect you to write that on like a review thing. Worth the wait on this episode. But thanks everyone for joining. We will see you on the next episode.
Bye, y'all.